Let's study.
Wow.
It is unbelievable. I don't mean to. I thought it was funny when he said, Como rents an apartment for $8,000 a month. Like $8,000, please, like sign me up. Where do you find an apartment in the city for $8,000? Are you kidding me? $8,000, Governor Como, really? Listen, guys. There is these people are mentally ill. Jews. So there's two types of mentally ill people. There's regular mental illness. Those are people who vote for Mamdani. Person with literally doesn't know how to run a cash register. If anybody had a Bronx bodega and he sent an application for the job, he would not get the job because he literally has no experience. So you have to be mentally ill to vote for Mamdani. But if you're a Jew and you vote for Mamdani, you're severely mentally ill. That's the truth. For lack of a better way of putting it, it's just true.
Something today they said this very divisive.
9/11, he was.
Yeah, his poor aunt.
She got looks.
It wasn't the aunt.
Uh-huh.
The aunt who lives in Tanzania.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
It happened to be his father's cousin.
Oh. Those are the real victims of 9/11.
There was something else even. In other words, that said the days are over where Muslims should feel uncomfortable. We're going to take over here, or something like that. I forgot what it was.
Look at London.
Look at London. Unbelievable. Okay, Be'ezat Hashem. Look, guys, the worst case scenario. I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy to live in Israel, but that's our worst case scenario. So, worst case scenario, nice macchiato by the Mediterranean. Okay, no.
That's it. I'm selling my house.
No, I'm not even. Listen, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that we have to realize what the worst case scenario is. It's not like, God forbid, World War II Europe, where the worst case scenario was something else. Here, the worst case scenario is Israel is really, really difficult to live in. I'm not going to pretend like it's not. I live there. So it's very difficult, bureaucracy, tax, whatever. Okay, that's worst case scenario. That's what it is. Okay, worst case scenario, enjoy macchiato by the Mediterranean, and then go home and deal with all the bureaucracy and the mails and the this and the that, and everybody's driving you crazy. But okay, whatever, that's it. Right?
No, but it is great there. I agree.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It is.
All right, inshallah, we should go there from a good place and not from a bad place. But if we need to go there from a bad place, we have that option. Okay. All right, let's study Torah. And let's see what happens. What is the election? Next Tuesday, right? Tuesday. Okay.
Early voting's open.
Okay, yes. And no, but they're going to have on Tuesday election in the public school.
But I thought it's they said it was going to be long lines. That's what
Oh, so he's saying, okay, no problem. All right, let's go. So, Hilchot, Geniva, Perek Zayin, we're continuing with these laws. These are very unusual laws. I think that these laws are surprising to some people, but they shouldn't be. Part of, who we are as a holy nation is also a nation that acts at a high moral standard, and we're going to see that this is expected of us from the halakha. So let's start reading, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Hashokel lahavero b'mishkalot. A person now goes to a store. Now imagine back then, you want to buy flour. How do you buy flour? You buy, let's say, I want a gallon of flour, right? So they have a giant sack of flour, and he scoops up a gallon of flour, for example. Or that's a volume measure. Let's say you want to buy a pound of chickpeas. So you're going to buy a pound of chickpeas. So what do they have? They have a scale where they put 1 pound on one side, and then they pour in the chickpeas until the scale evens out. Exactly 1 pound, right? So if you use when you sell your friend, you say this is 1 pound, but it's really it's less than 1 pound. So it looks like it's 1 pound, but it's let's say 15 ounces, just as an example. Or your friend said, I want a gallon of flour, and you say, oh yeah, so I have this thing, it's 1 gallon, right? Okay, and you give him the gallon of flour, but it's really less than a gallon. This is a negative commandment in the Torah. Okay, do me a favor, get me Chumash Devarim. I think this should be there in one of those red books. Should be Devarim. I want to read to you what the pasuk says in Perashat Kiteseh about this issue, because it's important to see it. But in the meantime, Harambam brings a pasuk from Perashat Emor. Thank you, Aki. The pasuk says, "Shne'emar lo ta'asu avel b'mishpat." It's forbidden to perform an inequity in judgment. Now, what does it mean to perform an inequity in judgment? So every person is a judge, so to speak, of his own domain, right? So you own a store, you're a judge of your domain. You own a textile factory, you're a judge of your domain. Whatever it is. So don't perform inequity in your mishpat, right? Bamidah, doesn't matter whether it's a measure, let's say, of length, for example, bamishkal, of weight, bamisura, of volume. Now I want to read to you what the parasha says in Kiteseh. Right before Amalek, at the end of Kiteseh, you have the famous Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Right before that, I'm going to read to you what it says.
I could take on Bamishpat because I was thinking it has to do with judges, nothing to do with my own.
No, because it's so that's the thing. So it says bamidah, bamishkal, bamisura.
Of the business.
Right, exactly.
How do you flip into a judge?
How do you flip into
it?
it?
You have to feel like you're okay.
Exactly.
Your own domain. Okay.
Exactly. I just want to read to you the pesukim here, and you'll see it says lo yeh lecha v'chisecha even va'aven. Later on, we're going to see what that means exactly. It says you can't have in your pocket two stones. One is the stone, which is the actual, let's say, 1 pound, and the other is a little less than a pound. They both say 1 pound, right? But one is gedolah, one is larger, meaning the correct measure, uktana, and one is smaller. So you understand, this is very easy to fool people. How does he know if it's 1 pound or less than a pound? Lo yelecha bevetecha efa ve'efa. Another example, it's forbidden to have. Oh, what's that? We're saved. Okay.
I don't think it's the food.
You can Muslim from.
Wow. 8:33. It is the food.
Okay. Right. Lo yelecha bevetecha efa ve'efa. You should not own in your house a volume measure. So it's 1 gallon, but then you have a little less than a gallon, but they both say 1 gallon, right? Gedolah uktana, right? So that's what this is talking about. So this is also repeated in Perashat Kiteseh. I'm sorry, right? Even shelama v'sedek yelach. So you must have a complete. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Hey Jeff, how are you?
You must have complete measures. Okay, so that's a topic we're studying about.
Good.
Okay, so let's continue. Halakha bet. Af al pi shehamoded o hashokel haser gonem. Now, technically speaking, if you pulled this trickery, if you deceived someone in this way, technically speaking, you have the legal status of a ganav. You rob. That's considered robbery. Eno meshalem tashlumei chefer. If you get caught, you don't have to pay double. So let's say, for example, somebody came to my store. He wanted, $100 worth of corn, and let's say just a gallon. 10 gallons or 100 gallons of corn. Let's say. And I gave him a 90 thing measure. So I robbed him by $10. I actually gave him $90 worth of corn. Let's say. So I robbed them how much? $10. So let's say now, not me, God forbid, somebody else. Reuven was a robber. So Reuven was a robber, and now he gets caught. So you say, what does he have to do? He has to pay twice. He doesn't pay $10. He pays $20. That's not the case. You don't. In this case, if the person gets caught, he doesn't pay tashlumei chefer. He doesn't pay the double. He only returns what he robbed. I'll explain in a moment why that is. You return to him whatever it is that you took. So he was going to buy $100 worth of corn. You actually gave him $90 worth of corn. According to Halacha, you have to give him the additional $10 worth of corn that he was entitled to, which he paid for.
Okay.
You don't pay double. Why? What's the reason?
Has nothing to do with how you got caught, right? No.
No. Let's say he went to court and he lied, and then they had witnesses, and the witnesses said, "No, we saw he robbed him. He cheated him. Here's the measure he used. Isn't this a measure he used? And you see, it's 90 instead of 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because in order to pay tashlumei chefer, you have to actually take property that belonged to your friend, and now you have possession of it. In this case, you never took property that belonged to your friend. You never took possession of something that belonged to your friend. So the law of tashlumei chefer only applies if you take possession of something that belonged to him. Here you didn't. You cheated him. You were supposed to give him $100 worth of corn, and you gave him $90 worth of corn. You cheated him. but therefore there's no tashlum bechefel. It's a subtle point, but you see the difference in halacha. You didn't take possession of something, meaning the tashlum bechefel is, let's say I went, and Reuven goes into somebody's house, he takes something. Now that's something that he took originally belonged to the, let's say Shimon, and now Reuven has possession of it. In that case, if Reuven gets caught, he would pay double. Here, Reuven was the store owner. He cheated his friend. He was supposed to give him, let's say, a gallon of flour, and instead of giving him a gallon of flour, he gave him less than a gallon of flour. He never took possession of something that belonged to his friend.
Aside from his money.
Oh, I mean, no, his friend gave him the money. He was supposed to give him for the money a certain amount of goods, whatever.
So the penalty is just 1 for 1.
So that exactly, the penalty is 1 for 1, right? You understand? The penalty is 1 for 1. We're not. To your point, we're not minimizing this. If anything, you'll see that this is considered a worse avera. We're going to see at the end of the thing. The tashlum chefel, just so you know, is for the benefit of the person who robbed, because it's kapara for him. Here, and you're going to see soon, we don't want to give him this benefit, because it's a deceitful act, and it's very easy to get away with it. So we're going to see that God basically says, I'm going to take care of this person personally, because this is not something that society. What?
It's too hard to catch.
It's too hard to catch. The guy gets, every time he cheats a little, and he's
going to run around with throwing scales.
Exactly. Well, yes, exactly. So you're going to see, it's not because we're looking at it, Victor. We're not looking at it in a. We're not looking at it in like a lenient fashion. It's actually no. We're looking at it more strictly, and therefore we say no careful. We're going to see at the end what this is about. Okay, let's look at halacha gimel. Kol mi shemashe beveto o bachanuto midah hasera or mishkal hasena. Very interesting. It's not only forbidden to engage in this thievery, the very possession of a flawed scale, of a flawed measure, is itself considered an averah. So if I have in my house, I have this 1 pound, it says 1 pound, but it's really a little less than 1 pound. I didn't use it. I'm not cheating anybody. I just own it, right? O bachanuto, I have it in my store. Midah hasera. Back then when they used to sell garment, they used to sell garment by the, by the foot or by the yard. So I have like a measure, and it says 1 yard, it's the measure garment, but it's actually less than a yard. Now, I'm not using it, but I own it. Owning it is asur, right? So you have a weight measure, I have a volume measure, I have a length measure. Over belot ta'aseh tisul deoraita. And how do we know this? And that's a pasuk I read earlier. Shene'emar lo yeh lecha bechisecha. It's forbidden to just have it in your possession. You own it, you made isul deoraita. You didn't use it. Using it is a separate isul deoraita.
But you can get double. Wow.
Yeah.
You get punished for ownership and for using it.
Exactly. And the pasuk says at
You
that.
have to be careful with your weights. You can't own fake, then you're not being careful.
You can't own fake weights.
Exactly. Yeah. And I want to read to you what it says here. Even shelama v'sedek yelach. You may only own a complete weight measure. Efa shelama v'sedek yelach. You may only own a complete volume measure. And if you do this, leman yarichu yamecha al ha'adama shel Adonai Elohecha noten lach. The reward for this is a long life on the land that God promised us. The reward for this, for being an ethical person who follows these laws. And then it says, and this is like a shocking pasuk, Ki to'avat Adonai Elohecha kol ose ele kol ose avel. This is an abomination, meaning people who own these faulty measures, or people who deceive in this way. It's to'ava. Now, where do you see?
Homosexuality.
Where do you see the word to'ava? To'eva.
All over
With all the homosexuality, with kilu arayot, with all the various things. So this thing, in the eyes of God, is considered a to'eva. Is that interesting? So you see, like really
It's on the same level.
yeah, and you're going to see later on. So we're called upon to be, ethical in our behavior.
It wasn't on the list.
What? Right. Okay.
Owning but just measurements is you lama'an yarich.
Yeah. Owning the just measurements and behaving, in this way where you don't deceive.
That's what I want to
people.
add. Meaning,
Yeah.
I can't just say, I'm just going to buy.
No.
I want to buy a yardstick and I want to buy a
No,
measurement.
no.
You know what? Hey, look,
'Cause
the
it says
pasuk, I'm supposed to get long life, not because I have the right measurement. I never used it.
Yeah.
What's determining the right measurement versus the wrong measurement?
Oh, I mean, so like every country measures things. Let's say in America, we measure a quart of milk or a pint of milk. So like they have these companies, they sell us a quart of milk. They could be cheating us, we don't know, right?
But then owning it,
Right?
is it?
What? Oh, no. When you're buying the milk carton,
being the one-
you're the victim.
recipient.
Right, but they're claiming to you, they're selling you a milk carton and they're claiming this milk carton is, I throw the milk carton to the garbage when I'm done. I'm not using it to sell, right? Yeah. Interesting, very interesting, no?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, also guys, you're right, if a person,
There's the Bureau of Weights and Measures, like in every state, where they go to gas stations, randomly, they'll show up one day, they pump out a gallon to make sure.
Oh, really?
Beautiful.
They do that?
That's
They check
amazing.
them?
Yeah.
Heinz had a big lawsuit once.
Who?
Heinz.
oh yeah?
They were underfilling the bottle, supposed to be, let's say, 32 ounces.
Right.
It was off by like a fraction of an ounce.
And they beat him up?
Well, they couldn't pay everybody back, so the penalty,
Settled.
it was a penalty, and they had to overfill all the bottles
better go
by
forward.
that same amount for like the next 5 years.
That's like you see the potato chips, you like open those bags and there's like.
It's half the
Nothing.
price. That's terrible. I agree. No,
No,
that's.
but I noticed that they do put more than what they say because they don't wanna have that run.
They don't want to have
Yes,
that
that's
type of,
a
When you
better-
measure a lot of things, you'll notice it's a
Wow.
little bit over, or you like a half an ounce over sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Measure gets-
Yeah. By the way, you know what else does that?
3¼ yards of something, of like fabric, that's faulty to own.
No, it's good. It's similar to the to that football player for the under. No.
Why?
Good.
Okay, let's continue. So, Hayu Hamidot, let's go to Halakha Dalet, please. Halakha Dalet. Yeah?
Cover
Hayu
ground because we're not eating that stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, where's the food? What happened? Okay, I don't know.
So, Rabbi,
What?
like last week, we were talking about the bootleg goods,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So do you think, I know they didn't have it back then, but do you think they would use this as a reason to say you can't sell bootleg goods? Because it's almost like a deception.
Right, no, but it's a different type of deception. This would not be the reason not to
It's
sell.
pure weight.
Yeah, this has to do with weight measures. This is not a reason not to sell boot. I'm not saying that it's permissible. I think last week we discussed it. We said that, in my opinion, it is. Oh no, bootleg means robbed. I'm sorry. No, so it's explicit.
No, bootleg, counterfeit.
Oh, counterfeit. Yeah, like what they had. It wasn't interesting that this week in Canal Street, after we studied that law, they had that thing in Canal Street, right, where they were like getting rid of the counterfeit. Right, it was amazing. The reason they do it in Canal Street is because Canal Street is one of the oldest streets in New York, and they have these underground storage areas where they store the counterfeit goods, and then when they bring it out and they. Yeah. So anyway, so right, that was very interesting. So yeah, but this wouldn't be the basis. This is going to be the basis. I think in the case of the counterfeit goods, you're robbing the.
Intellectual property.
Yeah, exactly. It could be like I'm getting a perfect Rolex watch. I don't know. Let's assume the watch is perfect Rolex, indistinguishable from the real Rolex, right? So you're not robbing the customer. You're robbing the owner of Rolex.
Yeah.
That's the way I would look at it. Okay. So let's continue. Okay, halakha dalet. היו המידות והמשקלות של בני העיר חתומות בחותם הדון. Now, we have to be careful about what's forbidden and what's allowed. Okay, we're not fanatics either. Let's say you're in a city, and this city, they have like a seal from the authorities. So the authorities, they come to the store and they give a seal. This is 1 quart. So they kind of, like that, anybody who goes to the store, they know, okay, it has the seal of the authorities. I know this is really 1 quart. Or the weight measure. They have a seal where they put a seal on the weight, and this is a pound, or this is half a pound, or this is an ounce. So when you're in that type of situation, which is a very healthy situation, because then people can't manipulate things, right? So this is the ideal. The ideal is to have these chotamot, these seals. Now, we said before that it's forbidden to own a faulty measure of weight. So let's say I have this pound, it says 1 pound, but it's actually 15 ounces. Okay? But let's say I'm in a city where people rely on the seal. It doesn't have a seal. It's allowed to have it. Nobody's getting deceived by it. Because everybody knows that you rely on the official seal of the government to confirm this is 1 pound. This pound measure that I have in my house, is the food finally here? This pound measure that I have in my house doesn't have that seal. So I'm allowed to own it. I'm not allowed to use it. Obviously, nobody's saying you can use it. But I'm allowed to own it because there's nothing deceptive about owning it. It's like I have monopoly money. Can I own monopoly money in my house? Yeah. Oh, but maybe somebody will get fooled by monopoly money. No, they won't. They know it's not the ever did that.
7 minutes, sorry. I told her, don't call me again, just bring it.
Just bring the food. Okay, bring the food. Gentlemen, I'm not responsible. I have to say, I absolve myself of all
If
responsibility.
it's a city or a place that uses seals,
Yeah.
and you have a measure with no seal, you can own the measure, can't use it.
Exactly. Even if it's a faulty measure, we don't say, oh, no, you can't own it. This is a to'ivah. No, the to'ivah is to own a faulty measure, which potentially might be relied on, which might be used to deceive. In this case, since it doesn't have the official seal of the government, then it's okay. You understand the idea?
Wait, repeat that again. So bottom line is
Okay, I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Normally, I'm not allowed to have a faulty measure in my
Correct.
house, right?
Got it.
And just the very ownership of the faulty measure
It's
is
a
it's
problem.
obviously
Done.
like that. If you live in a city or a country where
A stamp, usually.
the government gives an official stamp
Got it.
to say this is 1 pound,
Right.
this is 1
Got
ounce,
it.
this is 10 pounds, whatever.
So if you own that
If I
faulty,
own
you're
a
okay.
faulty measure which does not have the government seal on it,
Right.
and therefore nobody's going to rely on
Right.
it, it's not forbidden to own it. I may own it.
But you can't.
Oh, of course, they use it. We're not allowed to. Right, I can't use it to deceive.
Measuring spoons in your house, are you gonna go see if they're standardized? Or
Right, exactly. Thank you. That's a great example, by the way. Perfect example. Now I have a measuring spoon. I use a measuring cup to make, I don't know, whatever, pizza or whatever it is. It ends up, it's the wrong measure. Is he soon doing like that? No, because nobody uses it for.
You're doing it for yourself, though.
No, but the point is that I can't use it to deceive anybody. Nobody's going to be deceived. Like, meaning the question is it something that people would rely on and they see like this little blue cup. Yeah, this is selling you now. No, like nobody relies on that.
You're saying in your home.
Yeah.
Also in your store. I mean.
No, in your store.
What is-
Now, okay, so every country has its own standards. So yeah, I would say in our standard, the quart of milk. Okay, I'm relying on that quart of milk. It's like it says 1 quart on the bottle. That's a good example of where there could be deception. Or if I buy peanut, they have like sometimes they sell you like nuts, and it says like 16 ounces or whatever. They have like the net weight, and then they give you the price, right? That would be Yisur Deoraita. These guys are not really makpidim. That would be Yisur Deoraita. I would tell anybody to like watch it. You know what I'm saying? For their own benefit, right? All right, let's continue. Let's go now. So to halacha, one moment. Okay, let's go to halacha vav. Let's go to halacha vav. All right. Sela. Sela was a weight measure. It was a weight measure by which they used to measure silver. So sela was a certain measure of silver, and they would use it to weigh, right? Now let's say you own it, and it was a good sela. There was nothing wrong with it. You weren't using it to deceive, but then it got with the passage of time, sometimes these things they get a little corroded. So this sela got corroded in the middle, right? But you know what can never ever get corroded? Well, it can never lose its weight or lose any of its substance. You know what? Which it is?
Which metal?
Yeah. Gold. Yeah, gold. Gold you can have it for 100 years, for 1,000 years, for 10,000 years. It never gets corroded. It's one of the most unique elements in the universe. That's why gold was considered the ultimate for that reason, that it would never lose. What? And it was a good, yeah. Now the problem with gold is it's so valuable that it's not fungible anymore. You can't go with the gold and but the point is, it's that's also in the Mishkan. You overlay everything with gold because it never deteriorates. So when they find the Aron HaKodesh, it has the gold there. It's going to be the same. That's the beauty of gold. as opposed to other metals. There's some things that are silver and copper, but gold is not like that. It's eternal. Okay. Anyway, getting back to this thing. So you have this silver weight measure, coin. It's called a sela. A sela is equal to 4 dinarim, let's say, whatever. It's a coin. It's a valuable coin, and it gets corroded. So now, I lost a place. Sela shenifkema ba'emsa. Now you have to be careful with the sela, because if you give it to a dishonest person, the dishonest person can use this sela to deceive other people. Somebody goes into a store. Okay, how much you want? You want a sela of milk? Okay, put the sela on one side. Milk is a bad example. That would be volume. You want a sela of peanuts? Put the sela on one side and the peanuts on the other. Okay, perfect. Here's your peanuts. Now, the dishonest person knows that the sela is corroded. So that's why you cannot sell this type of thing to a dishonest person, because then he would use it to deceive other people, and you have culpability for having sold it to the dishonest person.
If you sell it to an honest person, they don't know better.
Right. So no, you must inform them. You cannot just let them. Now, in this case, it says what you are allowed to do, and you shouldn't sell it to anybody, right? Because if somebody uses it in a bad way, God forbid, you could be liable. But what you are allowed to do in this case is, oh wow, you can make it jewelry. You can make a hole in the middle and make a nice necklace for your child and have this nice silver there. That you can do. But you can't just keep on to the sela, because if you keep on to the sela, you will be violating the law of lo yelech havechisecha even ba'aven. You will be violating that law that we said earlier, that you can't have a defective weight measure in your possession. So if you can turn it into a toy, like not a toy, a jewelry, turn it to jewelry. That's allowed. But any other thing is forbidden. Well, we got a busy night tonight. Now, I want to read halakha chet. While you're all eating, I'm going to read halakha chet. And this is a little shocking, I know, but okay, it's good to know the halakha. It's good to know what the Torah expects of us. So here goes. Of course, all of the aforementioned laws, they apply if you're doing business with a Jew. Or imagoy, or if you're doing business with a Gentile, even if the Gentile is an idolater, all of these laws apply. Imadad, if you measure like the cloth, like the 1 yard, right? You said you measure the 1 yard for the cloth. Or shakal behaser, or you weighed. Again, you're saying it's 1 pound, but it's actually 15 ounces. In all these cases, it is considered to be a negative commandment, and it is obligatory to return it. That's a crazy law. That really is just something that I think that's important to know. You're not allowed to deceive a goy when you do the calculation. As the pasuk says, you have to do the correct arithmetic. When somebody's, let's say you have a customer, and the customer is coming, you have to do the correct arithmetic with the customer. You're not allowed to con him or cheat him or be manipulative or deceptive. Even if this is in the land of Israel, and the goy in the land of Israel the goy lives in the land of Israel, and you say, it's just a goy, I can do whatever I want. No, you can't.
What about your wife?
Can you
You have to be honest with your wife?
Well, I mean, if your wife comes to your store and she's going to use her money to buy something.
I'm talking about the thermostat.
Oh.
Yeah, it's on 70, on 66.
It's ridiculous. I come into the house sometimes like a steam room,
It's
like, what is
freezing.
going on here? Oh man. Okay.
It's a good one.
Yes,
I like
it's a
that one.
mitzvah. In that case, it is a mitzvah to be deceptive. Okay. Pikuach nefesh. All right. Kal vachomer legoy she'eno kavush tachat yadecha. And of course, if you live in a goy's country, of course you should respect the laws of the country and not act in a deceptive way. Varehu omer, as the pasuk says, Ki to'avat Adonai Elohecha kol oseh eleh. It is considered an abomination unto God to engage in any of these deceptive practices. Kol also avel kol. Doesn't matter Jew, doesn't matter Goy, doesn't matter in Israel, doesn't matter out of Israel. Mikol makom. We have to be honest and straight in the way we conduct ourselves. And really, that brings the biggest beracha, by the way. The biggest beracha is for people who conduct themselves in this manner. It really does bring a beracha. Because sometimes, a person makes money, but he doesn't have the opportunity to enjoy the money. That happens so many times in life where they're very successful and they finally got what they wanted, but they're so tense and have so many issues and so many this and that, and that they just don't enjoy themselves, right? So it's not enough just to make money, but you want to have beracha in the money. Okay, let's continue to the next halacha. Now back then when they would sell land, they say, I want to buy 100 square yards of your field. So they would take out a long measure and they would measure and they say, okay, let's put the boundary, we'll put the fence around here. So this fenced area now is going to belong to you. And you're not measuring it properly. Meaning you're telling him it's 100 square, it's going to be 10 yards and 10 yards belongs to you. But really it's less than 10 yards, right? So you use like this measure to measure the land, which supposedly was 10 yards, but it's actually 9.5 yards or 9.9 yards, and you sold them the land, over belo ta'aseh. That also is considered subsumed by the series of laws we just read now. Shene'emar lo ta'asu avil b'mishpat b'midah, b'midah zo midat hakarka. So the Hachamim say, what does it mean b'midah? That's when you measure land. So these laws apply not just to movable property, to chattel, what's called chattel in English law, but it also applies to real estate, to real property. And therefore, if we had to summarize the pasuk, which says it means don't perform an inequity when you measure the real estate. And don't perform an inequity when you measure the weight. Okay, so that's the basic law that we studied today. Are there any questions on this before we go to the next laws, which will be the last halachot of this chapter? Any questions, comments, concerns? I know there used to be a time when there was a lot of these. They used to have like these sap stores, and I don't know. It just what? Clip stores, right. Clip stores where they kind of
Sony guns.
right. So they would like pretend to sell one thing, but really be selling something else, whatever.
They
Didn't switch. Okay, yeah, stuff like that. You got it. All right, let's do halacha yodalef. So now this is a similar law, but it's a related law, but it's not exactly the same. Hamasig gevul re'ehu. Hamasig gevul re'ehu means you encroach upon the border of your friend. Very interesting. To encroach is forbidden. The pasuk says, "Lo tasig gevul re'acha." It is forbidden to encroach upon the boundary of your friend. We're going to see what this means. So now, the peshat of the pasuk is, so let's say it's the middle of the night, there's a fence between our two fields, and I move over the fence just a little. He's sleeping, he doesn't see it. He wakes up the next day, I moved it a little. I just moved it an inch, right? So that's Isur Deoraita. If we did it with force, that the person would be a gazlan. Because he said a gazlan is a person who takes something by force. The imisik baseter, but if he does it baseter, harizeh ganab. That's considered a robber. If you do it secretly. Now I want to read you Parashat Kitavo.
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Yes.
What about the easement?
I was thinking that.
So the easement, if I put something on the easement, which is considered technically a share,
What do you mean by an easement? I'm sorry. Be specific. Yeah.
when you have some properties,
Yeah.
right? There's an area on one side.
Yeah.
The two neighbors share.
Yeah. Like a shared driveway.
But it's really not. It's
Behind the
technically
house.
part of one property,
Yeah.
but because it's so close to the other one, it's called an easement. So you have-
Oh, so he has a right to use.
Yeah, you can't put anything permanent there.
Got it. But you have a right to use it.
But if you put something there for, was it 15 years?
Yeah, it's adverse possession.
Right, so the Torah
Right,
recognizes.
and it becomes my possession.
Right, that's something different. The Torah recognizes adverse possession, by the way, but there's certain specific conditions that must be met. So that there is a possibility of adverse possession if it's done in a way where the owner should know about it or knows about it, and therefore it's not done in a secret way. But here, let's say, we brought the example of the ganav. I brought the example he does it in the middle of the night, or he does it at gunpoint. He's saying, now that's not done with the consent of the owner because it's at gunpoint. So that's a gazan. So the easement, it sounds more like the owner is kind of like being lazy about it. He knows that they're putting the bench over there. They have a bench that they put there, maybe, and like the owner is not doing anything about it. But obviously he knows that there's a bench there. So with the passage of time, there could be what's called adverse possession. That's in English law and also in Jewish law. That's a little different. Yeah, here it's I'm doing it in a sneaky way or in a forced way against his will, right? Now I want to read to you in Perashat Kitavo. There's a list of people bar minan that are arurim. Arura isha sheyaseh fesel masecha. For example, a person he fashions avodah zarah, or bar minan, a person curses, disrespects makle avi be'emo. He disrespects. He treats his parents in a kal, with zilzul, not in a respectful way, right? But then it says one of the arurim is arur masig gevul re'ehu. If a person, so now secretly, again at night, he pushes over the fence just a little. So this is one of the people that's specifically cursed in Perashat Kitavo. That's masig gevul re'ehu. That's what we're talking about. Just so you can make the connection in your mind. You see. If you did this outside Israel, you made one isur deoraita. You're either a ganav, a robber, or gazlan, armed robbery. Okay, that's outside Israel. If you did it in Israel, you're guilty of those same crimes, but you're also guilty of belav shel ganav shel gazav, belav shel lo tasig gevul re'acha. The pasuk of lo tasig gevul re'acha, do not encroach upon the border of your friend. The pasuk continues and it says, "Benachalatecha asher tinchal." He brings it here. Okay, so in Israel there's an additional isur. So if you do it outside Israel, one isur deoraita, robbery, either armed or secret robbery. If you do it in Israel, it's an extra isur deoraita. Lo tasig gevul re'acha. You're not allowed to encroach on your friend's property. All right, so that's the isur of lo tasig. Now, from this, Hachamim said that it's also you're not allowed to encroach upon his business. So I think we discussed this last week. I think somebody mentioned Uri's or maybe Chasky. I don't remember that somebody was selling something and then the other person did the same thing. And then so you have to respect your boundaries. Right? So if you've been a fruit store and there's been a bakery here and you have the fruits and he sells the breads, you shouldn't now take advantage of the fact that people are coming to his bakery and say, you know what? I'm not going to bake bread because I know many of the people are going to his bakery will now come to me and buy bread from me. Meaning you've had the status quo for many years. You sell vegetables, he sells bread. Keep it that way. Don't encroach upon his business. So there's an isur of lo tasig, not just with real estate, but also in business. Respect, and I think in that context we're talking about the counterfeit goods. So when you're selling counterfeit goods, you're actually encroaching upon the border of your friend because you're using the goodwill that he built, the IP that he built, and you're making money off his IP. Yeah. And here is the last halakha. This is a little shocking. I forgot who asked the question. Somebody asked it, why doesn't he have to pay double? The punishment that Hashem metes out to people who engage in this type of activity is worse than the punishment for someone who engages in promiscuous behavior. Because promiscuous behavior is you're offending God, and maybe God might forgive, maybe He won't forgive, maybe you'll show contrition, maybe you won't. But okay, that's between you and God. And this is between you and your friend. And if your friend doesn't forgive you and you robbed his money, it could be, that means that there's, what's the expression? You have to pay the piper? It's something like that. Might have heard that somewhere. Okay. So so it's a serious
Doesn't
situation.
the friend have to forgive after a certain amount of time?
No, it's true, but then you're gonna have to pay him back. You know what I'm saying? Now the problem is we're dealing here with a businessman. Who did he rob? Like the whole neighborhood?
Right.
People who live there now, people who live them there. People like, how can you? You know, I'm not saying that it's hopeless, but there's going to be a price to pay, is what I'm saying in that case, right? The price to pay could be very, serious. So, I hate to say it. I heard that there's some religious people who feel that they can cheat goyim. That's what I heard. So here it says, if a person, he rejects these, he said, I don't have to do it. It's like you're rejecting a siyat Messiah. If you reject your responsibility to act in this type of ethical fashion, it's like you're rejecting the exodus from Egypt. Right? And if you are willing to act in an ethical fashion, then it's like you're accepting the exodus from Egypt. What this means is as follows. When God took us out from Egypt, He took us out to be an exemplary nation, a nation of high moral standards, right? And if you're not willing to abide by these high moral standards, and they are high moral standards, it's almost like you're rejecting the very exodus from Egypt. The exodus from Egypt was a special nation that was taken out. And you're saying, I don't want to be part of that special nation. It's too much for me. It's a burden. So that you understand the idea of Kofel B'Siyat Mitzrayim, right? I just want to say, I know some people think it's hard to abide by this. People who have ethical standards, they're blessed by God. That's what happens at the end. I can share with you a story. I don't like sharing it because it's about me, but I don't mean it in a bad way. I have no ill feelings for the person. But once, many years ago, I did a transaction with someone. They were supposed to pay me, they didn't pay me. And, all right, whatever, I said, kaparat avonot, yisurim, ve'urachum yechapel avon. I said, everybody has kaparat avonot. And the person made excuses. All right, okay, whatever, fine. 6 years later, he calls me on the phone. He said, I want to apologize. I said, what happened? And then I found out he was going through horrible things. And I don't want to say what happened to him and to his family and to his this and to his that. And of course, I forgave him. I understood where he was coming from. He was coming from a place of pain. But he understood, and to his credit, I say this really to his credit, he understood that he made a mistake, and you're not supposed to do this with people. So,
Did he pay you back?
no, he didn't pay me back.
He didn't have the ability to.
By the way, he didn't have the ability to.
6 years later.
And I already, what's the word?
Yush, he gave up.
Yeush, that's it. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't believe now in starting opening up the old things. Whatever money God wants to give me, He gives me. He doesn't want to give me money, He won't give me money. It comes from this person, it'll come from that person, it comes from there, it comes from there. I get what I deserve. We all get what we deserve. We don't have to start, We do what we can do, we act. Yaakov Avinu worked really hard. Work hard, for sure. Hard work, be professional, be diligent, do what you need to do to make money, but within the boundaries of the law is what I'm saying. I'm not saying not to make the effort. Make the effort. But if you have to start fighting with people and dealing with... No, thank you.
But the main lesson I think on that one is just don't cross the rabbi.
It was bad stuff. It was bad stuff. Elohim Yishmor.
All right, set me up.